The future is green. And yes, green does mean sustainable, but we're talking about the green, known as cannabis, hemp, ganja, weed, and a plethora of other names if you want to keep it small. But the world of cannabis is much bigger than smoke and mirrors. I'm Kendall, the farm plug.
I'm Antoine Mordican.
And I'm Dr. Snap.
And this is Growing the Green.
I'm Antoine Mordican, your Alabama State Director for Minorities for Medical Marijuana. In today's news, I got a slightly small update for y'all. The Alabama Cannabis Commission has not moved yet. So they were supposed to meet on the 19th of September, and they chose to cancel the meeting because they didn't have any new business for us. So the attorneys for the commission and the attorneys for the, I don't know what you call them, the plaintiffs or those that are suing the commission, they made no grounds, they made no traction, so they don't have anything new for us. They don't know exactly what it is that they're gonna do. So as it stands right now, we have no timeline on nothing. So we don't know when licenses will be getting issued. We don't know how they're gonna be moved forward with evaluations of the evaluating process. We don't know if they're gonna be pulling the licenses back or reissuing them. We just don't know. Everything is pretty much at a halt. I believe the commission will be meeting again in October. I don't know the exact date. If you wish to know the date, go to alabamamedicalcannabis.gov website to be able to keep up with the meetings and to be able to follow up with the upcoming meetings. In other news, the Safe Banking Act is finally getting some traction. From our understanding, Wednesday, September 26th, it will be going to the September 27th. The bill will be going to the floor again. So they say they may be able to get the key votes now to finally get the bill and everything in motion. So
what is the Safe Banking Act? What is it supposed to do?
The Safe Banking Act will pretty much move the federal regulations to allow banks to be able to start dealing with the money in the cannabis industry.
So that's important, like for investors, in terms of like if you're actually in a cannabis business where you can save your money, you can actually open bank accounts. Like
that's right.
So they ain't got to be no cash business.
Yeah, as of right now it's cash only. Yeah. And then you never know how that looks. You know what that means? It's still a lot of dark money that's in the industry and the market. Then then they even come down to taxes and stuff like that because you're supposed to be paying taxes on. If you're a business, you operate, you got to pay tax. But you never know how much money you're getting if everything cash in. Hand to hand cash. So. This should be able to create some more opportunities, especially for those that are looking for, capital, investments and things like that. It'll release a lot of the restrictions that a lot of the businesses having to deal with, private equities or venture capitalists that may be in an unfortunate situation where they can just go to a bank now and get a loan to be able to help them out in that aspect of it. And then also in other news, your boy was given an award this past weekend up in New York. I received the Herbie Award, which was presented by Herman Contour up in New York. We was in Coxsackie, New York, which I never been up to New York yet. Coxsackie, yeah. It was a cool little town, man, I must say. But so I was given the award out there. An award is just to be able to recognize individuals that is positively contributing to the cannabis industry in the whole. And I was recognized for the work I've been doing here in Alabama. Just kind of putting on for our folks and making sure that we get, black and brown peoples in this space and making sure that they staying aware, staying abreast, as well as a wealth of other things that's going on here in the state, such like the congressional maps and stuff like that, and having those conversations, getting folks activated, come out and vote and everything like that. So it's a lot of work that's going on here in Alabama. And I can't say it's just me. I'm just trying to, wave a flag and bring attention to it. But they felt like I should be given an award with a lot of work I've been doing throughout the years.
So man, congratulations.
I appreciate that.
Foot soldiers.
Hey man, we grassroots, man. I love that grass. I put my foot in the mud. We become one. But with that being said, that's all I got for the news.
There is some other news though that is relevant, right? In terms of the redistricting of the Congress lines or district lines.
Yeah. So the congressional map. So I've been following that as well too. So this is what happened, y'all. The state of Alabama pushed forward some congressional maps that that just wasn't right based off the census map, that they needed to introduce another district that was minorities. So they got sued. The state of Alabama got sued. It went up to the Supreme Court level. 3 judges ended up ruling like, yeah, this ain't right. That's foul. Go back and make these adjustments. I think at how they had, out of like 7 districts, only one on was majority minorities. So they had to go back and create a second district that was majority minority. They still failed to do that. KI called a special session, called a special committee and everything together to get these maps and everything redrawn. The state of Alabama didn't do it and still submitted the BS. The BS, of course, got caught, and now the judges in the Supreme Court are now appointing a special master, as they call it, to be able to redraw these congressional maps to make sure that it includes that second district.
So they can't do it themselves.
Right, they just can't get it right. They just can't get it right.
And that's why I wanted you to because there's a connection to that. You know what I'm saying? Like the same situation that's going on from a federal standpoint is the same thing they're doing with the Medical Cannabis Commission. Like it's games. You're playing games. Like it literally takes a whole nother entity appointed from the feds coming top down to make sure that Alabama plays fair. And if they're doing it in something as huge and impactful and important as congressional districts, then we know when it comes down to the cannabis industry, the type of implications that this can have. So you are 100% right. Y'all ain't been voting. Go get your stuff in order because obviously, now I feel how I feel about it, but obviously, right, this must be important if they're going through all of this to keep us from having access to it, right? So
trying to minimize your voice, trying to minimize your vote, and don't want you to pretty much elect in the representation that you feel like should represent you. So let's say if I end up running for office, whatever, and I'm on the ballot, but I'm in a different kind of district that may be going more the other way, and it kind of split the votes that everybody that support me. So it just makes it tougher for that kind of representation to be selected, and that's why a lot of folks be like, well, my vote don't count because we allow for them to be able to push these BS congressional maps forward where they do dilute our vote. So we do all feel a certain kind of way and we want to see a certain kind of representation. However, we can't unify in that voice because we all scattered out in different districts, and that weakens our voting power. And that's classic voter oppression.
Classic, as in been happening, as in not new. But I'll definitely see if one of our, I had the pleasure to meet someone really awesome in the barbershop. I'm learning that you guys in the barbershop is like it's a whole world.
So community.
Y'all be doing things.
It's like our golf course, right? Business gets done in the barbershop.
In the chair. Right? I see that. I can totally see that. Because this brother, shout out RJ, he works with Black Voters Matter. So we're engaging some conversation, and hopefully we can get him on the show so he can participate in this dialogue.
I love to have that conversation.
I know, and he is also an alpha. So he was at Lobby Day and all that stuff. So actually, I think he knows you too. I'm pretty sure y'all know each other.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure y'all know each other. But with that, I think is there any other news that you all can think of that people should know about? No?
Nah, I ain't got nothing additional to add.
Okay. All right, well then we can go ahead and segue into our next aspect of the show, where today's topic we're going to be looking at policies. So we're going to take a blah 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 blah. We're going to take a blast to the past, right, and figure out how did we actually end up in the situation that we are in when it comes down to cannabis policy, legislation, and legality, right? So I think we can go back when America was founded, 1776, right? But before America was founded, we had the institution of slavery, which technically begins, in 1619, right? There have been some dates that came before that, but as far as I understand, officially on record, 1619 was that first date of that first ship coming over here with black bodies on it. And when we think about, the war on drugs and the history of cannabis in the United States, it may be tempting to go back, right, to 1776 when they signed the Declaration of Independence, which is written on hemp paper, right? But I think it's really important to, when I think about the beginning of hemp as an industry, I think about the beginning of the institution of slavery, right? Because when you look at those slave ships, the sails on those ships, the rope on that ships, the clothes that the slaves were wearing, a lot of the crops that slaves were being forced to pick and harvest and cultivate were hemp-based and derived, right? It was actually cannabis. We have been growing cannabis in the United States. So in some of my research, and we'll have some links that'll pop up for you guys on the screen, but it just talked about in the 1600s how it was actually between Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Maryland that hemp was a legal form of tender.
Man, you could trade.
It was money.
You could trade with it.
It was literally money. And so now here it is, $400.
I wish I could pay you in a pound of flour.
You know what I'm saying? Like what? What type of world is this? You know? So I think that was something for me that just kind of stands out when I think about the 1600s, right? So what else?
The unique thing about those times, what a lot of folks may not recognize, that was one of our original agricultural commodities, was hemp. And it was used for so much at that time, which it played a big part in with us getting our, in the American Revolution, for us to be able to create rope, be able to create the sails for the boats, to be able to create uniforms and all the other things that it was created. If my memory called me correctly, I believe George Washington farm, what is it, Monticello Plantation or whatever it is, the one that's on the back of the nickel?
Monticello.
Yeah, Monticello. That was originally a hemp plantation. And a lot of folks don't know that. Like, our first president was out here growing hemp, but now we so far away from that now, how folks view the plant in totality, that it don't have these necessary uses, when it was one of the main plants that helped us get our freedom and our independence from the Europeans.
So in the 1900s, that's when the Mexican immigrants came over.
Yeah, after
the
Mexican Revolution of
Yeah,
1910.
the recreational aspect of the leaf came in back in the 1900s.
Okay.
So before then it was used for a wealth of things, but of course, as we always been dealing with the oppression of folks with any kind of melanin or pigments in their skin. So as the Mexicans started to cross the border to get into the United States, they started to be able to associate this plant, or I guess the way how we was consuming it. Now they really just saying the plants, because how the Mexican was pronouncing marijuana with the Mexicans, and then they went about doing what they
the fear of marijuana.
The fear of marijuana, saying that it's associated with crime, sex crimes, and all this other kind of stuff. Everything negative they attached it to this plant. Say this plant was doing it, and they was able to tie that to the Mexicans to be able to how historically how that historically go, how they kind of.
So also in the early 1900s, right, it's important to think about the Great Depression, right, and the role that kind of played. Because with the Great Depression, you get the result of alphabet soup, which is basically all of the different government agencies that are created to support the United States and to basically not end up in the Depression again. So that was actually, we got notes, y'all. This is real and it's happening. But in that alphabet soup, was the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, right? And it was led by Anslinger.
Yep, Harry Anslinger, the one and only.
And he held that position all the way.
Commissioner.
The first commissioner of the FBI, basically, and really what is the beginning of the DEA as well. And he held that position well into the 60s. So also in 1936, we see what you mentioned, right?
The
Reefer Madness. What is Reefer Madness? I mean, I feel like people know, but
so it was a movie that was pretty much built upon propaganda of how the plant works, what it does to the person when it's going. My personal perspective, it was a very negative aspect of how the plant is portrayed.
what was the movie about? Give me a plot. Give me some.
I don't remember the exact plot.
I gotta go watch the movie.
I
really want to see how they had
haven't
these
seen
folks
it in
out
so
here
long.
tweaking.
That was like
How they had these folks out tweaking.
No,
That you smoke and want to go jump off a roof, or you
it's
smoke and want to go
basically-
stab up the whole
basically what I
town.
was saying.
It's basically about this white
bad
girl.
thing.
It's a young white girl, and she basically goes out and is having fun. And then while she's hanging out with her friends, they offer her cannabis. They offer her reefer. And she's like, oh, what happens if I do it? So she smokes weed, and the whole world, like, things just go downhill from there. But all of the things about, like, rapists, murder, all of that, like, it's like an opera of the 1930s. Like, it's pretty extreme. I mean, it's kind of funny now if you look at how they, like, just It's so propaganda. It is undeniably a propaganda film. So it just
on the original films on how they was producing movies and everything back then. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's comical now. I'm gonna have to check it out for sure. Cause I always heard about it, but I never took the time to actually go watch it. Cause like I ain't about to watch it when I'm currently dealing with the war on drugs here in Chicago. You know, I'm already currently in the process of being oppressed. I'm dealing with police brutality, XYZ, and all that kind of stuff. I ain't trying to put, more negativity in my system, but I can use a good laugh right now.
I mean, it's wild when you see how they dramatize it and everything, but it's just always funny to me how it's just, I'm not even gonna go there. But anyway, it's super. What's really interesting is that movie came out in 1936, and then in 1937 they passed the Marijuana Tax Act, which is the act that essentially criminalized cannabis. So that is the act that you can kind of pinpoint that leads to the beginning of the incline of this war on drugs.
So I had a misinterpretation of that act then. I thought that was the act that pretty much just made weed and cannabis for the rich folks. You pretty much had to have some money to be able to touch and consume or play around with this plant. I don't know, I could be.
Let's see, it says the statute effectively criminalized marijuana, restricting possession of the drug to individuals who paid an excise tax for certain authorized medicinal and industrial uses.
Yeah, so if you got money, you cool.
I mean, what's the difference between that right now? It's the same thing. Even in what we say, decriminalization is not legalization. And with that, it just means no matter how many times you get arrested, if you can afford to go through the expungement process,
you can do it all over.
You're always on strike one. You just keep paying to keep your strikes at strike one. But the moment you can't afford that, you go to strike two, felony, boom, 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 now you're in the system, life, right?
We still dealing with it in some form, in some way, so that's how they criminalize these group of people, Mexicans at the time, black folks, and then we get into the 60s and 70s. Then, it took a different kind of form of a lot of folks some folks pushing for the non-usage of it and those that's using it as a love and peace drug. I guess that's their way to be able to get the bodies that they need to continue to, the prison population that they currently see. I guess that was the 13th Amendment to make us still be able to, as slaves, to be able to still work for free.
And then there was also, there was nothing really popping for cannabis in like the 40s and 50s, right? But in the 40s, I think it was 44, they did Anslinger and the Federal Bureau, the LaGuardia report. And it was basically the state commissioned a research study into the actual effects of reefer. Like, how mad does reefer actually make you? And it was in the conclusion of this report that they found that everything that they said about marijuana was totally false. It was all a lie. The making you go sex crazed and making you taking on crime sprees and things like that. They literally had the proof, and it was commissioned by the federal government. And that was the result. But because of the determination to keep up the racist antics, to keep the bodies in jail, to keep funding the prison industrial complex, they basically ignored that. And then that's when we get to the 60s and the 70s, where you literally see it becoming kind of like a flag, right? It's like a statement for the counterculture at the time. And really during the 60s and the 70s, the counterculture was if you were anti-racist, if you were pro-LGBT, right? Which is pretty far left even for that time. But you also had like the war going on. A lot of people were anti-war in Vietnam and stuff like this. So all of this is going on.
Liberalism, socialism, any of that.
Everything. Okay, I'm trying to make sure I'm...
Yeah, that was crazy. Something. I think it was another research that Nixon ended up having them do as well, and pretty much said the same exact thing. And he chose to go against it and put the prohibition. He turned it up. He turned it up another notch.
Yeah, Nixon. It's Nixon then Reagan, right?
Yeah.
Right. So which one of it was? Nixon. Reagan did the anti. Yeah, he started it. And then Reagan just kind of picked it up and went crazy with it.
Yeah.
Essentially, which is kind of getting us into
mass incarceration.
Mass incarceration. I shouldn't sing that.
But that was definitely the start of it. So we got the war on drugs, and that was like the 70s, 80s. when that kicked off, and then we ended up getting into the 90s where, you know, Bill Clinton get in, and at this point, you know, how the political landscape and field was, everybody felt like they wasn't being tough enough on crime, and as they were still associating all these crime with cannabis, with weed and things like that. So that's when, you know, we got our current president who ended up introducing, the bill was running away from me. But he was the author for the mass incarceration bill we got now during the Bill Clinton era.
1996 crime bill.
Yeah, the 1996 crime bill.
3 strikes.
Yep, so now they have more reasons just to continue to mess with us, catch us with a gram of weed. That's what strike 1. You go serve your time, do whatever it is you do. Of course, we ain't got the money, so we ain't getting the flexibility of the Marijuana Tax Act. So now you get caught with another potential crime, or just at that point now you're on probation. Now you violate anything, you know. Right. We have this continued
and then there was
revolving
minimum
door.
Sentencing.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about the minimum sentence.
So
and then the same time in '96, that's when California became legal, right?
Yeah, for medical use.
Going directly against what the federal government has basically
year.
set up. But can you talk about minimum? What is the minimum sentencing? Yeah.
So minimum sentences if you got caught with a certain amount of quantity of cannabis, and I think at the time when they ended up setting up, I think it was like 100 plants was like equivalent to having like 100 grams of like heroin or something like that. You got at least 10 years. I think the minimum just the start point is 10
That's
years.
crazy.
They shaving off a decade of your life for a plant that we've been growing
for a
plant we've been growing forever. We skipped a part, man. We skipped World War II. When World War II kicked off, we was scarce on resources to be able to, to be able to fight in the war and everything. They forced farmers to start growing hemp. It was either you grow hemp, you go be a farmer and grow hemp, or you get drafted and you go off to the war. So
about hemp for victory, right?
Hemp for victory. That's it.
They said by the end of 1943, it was registered that farmers had harvested 375,000 acres of hemp.
1,000 acres.
375. So imagine 375,000 football fields.
Everybody growing.
Everybody. It was either that. But then that still put us at an inconvenience for those that may be underprivileged, that may not have the land to be able to farm. Because at that point, they was having a draft. You know, a lot of folks that want to go off and fight this war.
Exactly, and they were telling people if you grow hemp, that's your service. You don't gotta go serve.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So if you ain't got the land, you don't know nobody with the land to be able to be a farmer or just to be able to tilt the land. You gotta go off. You gotta go off to war. You about to go have to set up for a couple years.
Yeah, no, that's trippy. And then we also have like the organization the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, that are founded in at the end of 1970. And what we had mentioned. The LaGuardia report was in 44, but the Schaefer report is the one that came out under Nixon, that he basically ignored and was like, yeah, I thank you for that. I commissioned it. Thank you for the information, but we don't care about that because we got to figure out how to get all these people in jail. Right. And then, of course, shortly after that, in 1973, you have the creation of the USDA, which is the Drug Enforcement Agency. There's a ghost. The Drug Enforcement Agency, which again continues to kind of do what it does in our communities. What else? Also in 1974, we see that High Times magazine
came in.
So again, the 70s is just a birth of counterculture, which never really went away. Because I'm not gonna lie, you can travel all over the world right now, and that leaf, the fan leaf with the 5 is everywhere. Like people all over the world actually engage in the cannabis industry. And so it's been really interesting because now you could always not always, but you could always kind of purchase things online. And a lot of the stuff that we would purchase online from the cannabis industry would come from China because they were always going. They never really stopped, right? So when we think about industries and the, just the potential of the future, right, in terms of where we're going, a lot of that opportunity lies in us bringing that industry back stateside. And, it really wasn't even until you just mentioned that, for black farmers, it's kind of a disadvantage all over the place because if you didn't have the land, you were probably sent off to war. So if you get sent off to war, who's managing the land that you did have? You know what I mean?
They
Like
come
what
to get
happens? Yeah, they either come to get it or it becomes air property, which is a whole nother episode of one of the top reasons why black farmers only control less than 2% of all of the farmland right now. And a lot of those farmers could have been growing hemp, right? Instead of getting pushed out of the South, racially terrorized and forced into the Great Migration to go either north or west, and now in urban city centers, bringing the war on drugs, and then it's like you get basically, it just follows you wherever you go, right? And so looking at, it kind of just follows you, and it's kind of oppressive whether you're in a rural area or an urban area because of all of the legislative push to really, demonize the drug and the people who have been historically connected to it.
But it's good to know as we moved into the new millennium that we start to get, a different outlook on the cannabis plant in itself and its different uses. And California kicked it off with the medical uses of cannabis. But as we got into the new millennium, that's when we started to step into Colorado, getting more research. Colorado doing their thing, and then we got the farm bill that's now allowing folks to be able to currently cultivate.
Farm bill.
Yeah, and then just being able to allow for the research to be done. Now I'm thinking about what year did the cannabis even get put on Schedule 1?
Oh, I just had it up.
It had to be probably when the DEA was formed.
No.
And I'm curious what research went into that to even make it a Schedule 1. That's saying that it has no medicinal, no value, or no purposes at all. When historically in our country, we've been growing it since we done landed since we done.
It's in 1970, so it gets differentiated from other drugs through the Comprehensive Drug Abuse Prevention and Control Act, which created the schedule. So it categorized marijuana separately from other narcotics and eliminated mandatory federal sentences for possession of small amounts.
Yeah, see, that is insane. What scientific backing did they have to support that? Which everybody want to say, especially a lot of the politicians nowadays, they don't want to do anything unless we have the sciences or scientific or research backing of it. But at that point, when the science is not on their side or pretty much serving their agenda, they completely look over it. They completely look over it, and then they wrecked all these, harmful policies and bills and things like that. So it's us as a people. We have to keep asking why. One of my teachers always told me, you ask why 3 times, you will get to the root of whatever the root cause of the situation. So if somebody comes to you like, well, cannabis is no good. Why? Well, because it says a Schedule 1 drug. Why? Well, because the DEA said so. Why? Because Harry Slinger said it was. All right, now why he said that? Oh, okay. Now we
have the real reason.
Yeah, now we at the real reason of it. So it's now. I love the fact that in the new millennium, as we continue to move forward, and now we have the ability to have access to this plant as everyday people, and we're able to reprogram the stigma that's been fed through our elders for decades.
Yeah.
For decades, I still have conversations with a lot of my elders that are a little older, and just their experience with it coming up, and they all dip and dab with it, and they all have a love and respect for it, but at the same time, you get those other individuals that's especially here in the Bible Belt, they just like, nah. Yeah. You don't do that. You don't touch that. You touch that, you gonna die. It's like fentanyl to them. Like you don't even want to get that on your skin. So
devil's lettuce.
Oh my God. So it takes a lot to be able to debunk a lot of that. And of course, as the older we get, the harder our heads get. So it's kind of tough to be able to penetrate the minds of our elders because they already in their ways. They feel however they feel. They ain't trying to learn nothing new, and that's just the way they want it to be, and that's the way they want it to stay. But as we continue to move forward and continue to uplift our youth, we have to be able to get this information to them to let them know that this plant does a wealth of things, and as well, we can do a lot of great things with it too. But we need youthful minds to be able to think of innovative ways to be able to usher in a new wave.
Yeah.
So what are I gotta ask the question? What are 3 takeaways that people tuning in, thanks y'all, should be able to take away from this episode?
Cannabis, hemp, marijuana, however you look at it, has always been a part of our life in American culture and history. So there's no doubts amongst that. 2, the stigma and the criminalization of it was always set in racism. No doubt about that. And 3, now that we moving into a new era, we have a potential, well, we have a bright future on a lot of things that we can do with this plant that can be to change the trajectory of our country and our nation as a whole as we continue to liberate this plant and ultimately decriminalize it and legalize it.
That was great.
It's like
That's
you be prepared.
I mean,
You be so
that's the take home right
prepared.
there.
Okay, what about you? Give me some.
I mean, he got it.
Put it in Dr. Snapper's words.
In Dr. Snapper's words, take home messages. The laws are changing. The laws are changing for the positive aspect of the plant. Once it was a negative aspect, they saw the potential in it. They used the potential in it, but then they wasn't making the money that they thought they was gonna make, or whatever the situation was. Now we're back into, you know what I'm saying, bringing it back to the forefront, and hopefully it will be equalized amongst races and pushed in a more positive light.
Okay. I think my 3 would be why?
Hey, spoken.
I like what you said, because
Yeah,
when you really think about, okay, yeah, the surface level of anything is always what you want me to believe it is, right? But when I start asking deeper, so I mean, this plant, like you said, has been here since before the United States. Like, indigenous people were engaging this plant and building their homes and doing all sorts of things all over the world, because the plant really originates in the Middle East. That's where it actually comes from. So throughout millions and millions of years of evolution, it has found its way into the United States, or into the Americas, right? Because we got a North, a Central, and a South America, right? And really, it has been used by indigenous people all up and down this whole continent, right? So I just think it's always important to understand everything has a history. Whether it's a plant, a crop, a commodity, or a policy, everything has a history. And it's always good to at least investigate or ask why 3 times, so you can understand where that policy came from and why it looks the way that it looks today.
Build from that foundation, those roots.
Yeah.
So
And
with that being said, we have a new music segment. We have a phenomenal brother out here in Montgomery, Alabama, by King Ant. We'll be playing one of his singles called Slides. He's a very qualified young man, made really good music. We ended up meeting him at one of the local CBD shops, and we were just kind of talking about cannabis here in Alabama. He was loving what it is that we're doing. So we wanted to go ahead and give him a little bit of airtime, a little bit of play with one of his singles.
Shout out to
Okay. You know what I'm saying? Man, for just landed. Okay. Man, for the comfort. Tell my let's go to bumper. Louis V got 1200. I'ma spend a lot of money. I been smashing on a bunny. Yeah, I just spit the chick. New chain. I just spit the chick. New ring. I just want the chick. Okay. I just beat my chick. Blu-ray. Man, for the comfort. Tell my let's go to bumper. Louis V got 1200. I'ma spend a lot of money. I been smashing on a bunny. Yeah, I just spit the chick. New chain. I just spit the chick. New ring. I just want the chick. Okay. I just beat my chick. Blu-ray. I'm getting a big check, she got some good, this an investment. I the best friend, she want to join and feel like it karma. Yeah. I tried to warn her, I'm a performer, port the formula. Whoa. I can't be normal, I'm getting enormous, so I'm ignoring her. Hey. Cause I know she love to drive. I need security when I ride. No T-Mobile, I need variety. Got a hell of a vibe. I'm chillin' in my old slide. Clean a 10-pack, check the cash out. Don't get your nose slapped. I don't do no cap. Hussein Bolt, I run more laps. I'm in motion. I've been roll running. I'ma up that check. Okay, I'ma spend that check, okay. I'ma get that check, okay. I'm paid by my check, okay. Man, for the comfort, tell my bitch let's go to bumper. Louis V got 1200, I'ma spend a lot of money. I been smashing on a bunny, yeah. I just spent the check, new chain. I just spent the check, new ring. I just want the check, okay. I just need my check, Blu-ray. Man, for the comfort, tell my bitch let's go to bumper. Louis V got 1200, I'ma spend a lot of money. I been smashing on a bunny, yeah. I just spent the check, new chain. I just spent the check, new ring. I just want the check, okay. I just need my check, Blu-rays. I'ma up that check, okay. I'ma spend that check, okay. I'ma get that check, okay. I'm paid by my check, okay.